Good afternoon, my name is Chandler Lyle and I'm covering Innovation Networks, sections 6.1 through 6.4. 6.1, No Man is an Island. 6.2, The Spaghetti Model of Innovation. 6.3, Innovation Networks. 6.4, Network at the Startup, and my related video. We start section 6.1 with an analogy for dining out in the caveman era. In this analogy, it was said that it was hard to find food for the cavemen because they would have to go out and hunt, and then they would have to start a fire, which was also difficult, and that they would need to find and create cooking utensils so they could cook the meat that they had found. In the end, it was said that no one man could do it alone and would die from exerting too much energy. Almost all human activity is dependent on others. As with innovation, it is more than just sharing the workload, and innovation is not a solo act. To be able to take good ideas forward, we must rely on all sorts of inputs from different people and perspectives. The key to this is shared creativity. In order to solve problems together, we need to exploit the fact that different people have different skills and experiences that they can contribute. In the mousetrap example, it goes on to speak about needing a technological breakthrough in order to make a better mousetrap. In my opinion, mousetraps are fine, but what the authors were getting at is that in order to create or innovate, there are multiple steps which need people to help be successful. In this case, they spoke about how we would need skills in manufacturing, acquiring supplies, quality control, finance, etc., which goes on to show that even a simple product such as a new mousetrap requires a lot of input, and that no one person could effectively tackle it all alone, just as the caveman could not either. Finally, just because we have technology to create does not mean that we will. Much of the challenges we face lies in the organization and managing networks so that they perform. What we must recognize and emulate is that successful networks have an emergent property mentality, that is, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. In 6.2, the Spaghetti Model of Innovation, it reiterates that innovation can be seen as a core process with defined structure and a number of influences. The way knowledge actually flows around an innovation project are complex and interactive, woven together in a kind of social spaghetti, where different people talk to each other in different ways, more or less frequently, and about different things. This complex interaction is about knowledge in the way it flows and is combined and developed to make innovation happen and help bring products to market. For example, the entrepreneur from our mousetrap example building networks to help develop the new trap, and companies like Apple revealing their latest iPhone. These may seem to be polar opposite, but regardless, they both require building and running knowledge networks. The only difference is that as the innovation becomes more complex, like the iPhone, so does their networks, which will require more inputs, some whom lie outside the firm. The text speaks about some of America's great innovators, such as Thomas Edison and Henry Ford, and how they highlight the fact that they were not just solo geniuses, but rather they understood the network dynamics of innovation and built teams around them capable of creating sustaining rich innovation networks. Recently, there has been increased interest in knowledge management, and attention is now focused on mechanisms to enable better flow, such as communities of practice, gatekeepers, and social network analysis. As we can see, the image shows a standard KM flowchart. Next slide, we move on to see the four major arguments pushing for greater innovation network. As in this chart, they are collective efficiency, collective learning, collective risk-taking, intersection of different knowledge sets. Moving on to 6.3, Innovation Networks. The most information I have from this book in my sections, we learned that a network can be defined as a complex, interconnected group or system. The concept of innovation networks has become popular in recent years as it appears to offer many of the benefits of internal development, but with few of the drawbacks of collaboration. A network can influence the actions of its members in two ways: through the sharing information within the network and through differences in the position of actors in the network, which causes power and controls imbalances. Therefore, the position an organization occupies in a network is a matter of great strategic importance and reflects its power and influence in that network. Networks are appropriate when the benefits of co-specialization, sharing of joint infrastructure and standards, and other network externalities outweigh the cost of network governance and maintenance. For example, when there are high transaction costs involved in purchasing technology, a network approach may be more appropriate than a market model. And where uncertainty exists, a network may be superior to full integration or acquaintances. Next, we see the different types of networks: closed, open, and virtual. Open networks are those that deal with complex products and services where businesses have to interfere with others, and it is in everybody's interest to share information to ensure compatibility. A closed network is where a company seeks to deploy proprietary standards through scale economies and other actions, thereby locking customers and other related companies into its network. For example, Microsoft and Intel, because they work together to create one product. Virtual innovation is now widespread and connecting firms in a variety of ways. It provides fast information around themes like supply chain logistics, procurement, and customer order processing. As we continue, we notice two graphs. First, on the benefits of an effective innovation network member. It is important that once we review this chart to take away that because of these benefits, established businesses are turning to cooperation and alliances to extend their access to these innovation resources. The second graph is on the types of innovation network. There are actually 8 total, but I included the 4 which I found most interesting. They are entrepreneurial based, which helps bring different complementary resources together to help take an opportunity forward; internal projects, where networks of knowledge and key skills are brought together to help enable some opportunity to be taken forward; emerging standards, which is exploring and establishing standards around innovative technologies; and spital clusters, where knowledge flows amongst and across the members of the network due in part to their geographical closeness, such as the Silicon Valley tech firms. In 6.4, networks at the startup, we have there is no lone innovator and from idea to market. As the text states, even Thomas Edison had a group of people working for him on the inventions. Through his networks, he was able to be such a successful innovator. And from idea to market, we get the example in the text where a young idealist had the idea to create a radio to help curb the AIDS epidemic in Africa. While he had no networks, he was unsure how to get it to market, and he ended up selling his idea once it was recognized on TV. And from there, the entrepreneur and corporate financier who purchased the product developed a sophisticated network and was ultimately able to bring this life-saving product to market.
My name is Jean-René Roy. I'm the local business unit manager for BU Measurement Products for ABB in Canada. The highlights of the talk were on involving more people earlier, investing earlier in the development process in terms of having a right the first time product development. Basically putting more ideas in the idea pipeline, making sure we challenge them more and more early on so that we really only have the best ideas going into the development process. Involving more people earlier in the process to make sure that the product concept we put together is the right product concept. Investing early again in terms of de-risking the technology risk so that when we're ready to develop the product that we have a technology that is ready. and then afterwards moving into involving better ownership of the engineering team and doing a better job in terms of managing our development projects. Challenges we faced was it's always in terms of change management. It's changing the way people were looking at how projects were evaluated. When we wanted also to involve a lot more people early enough, it's for them to understand their roles, take their roles, own these roles in order to be able to contribute to the project. The other things were in terms of just pure investments, involving a lot of more people earlier and doing de-risking earlier in the project meant a lot more money than before was being spent before going to Gate 2, for example. So for us, it was a difficult decision to take that leap of faith and invest early. But at the end of the day, the results are there. Final thoughts is we've improved, I think, very significantly in terms of the way we're developing our products. But at the same time, there are still so many improvements to be made, and we're doing a continuous improvement process. And even just today, with the talks that I've seen a few good ideas that we'd like to implement in our home when we're developing those new products.